All right, welcome back. Underdog Stories, another edition. Chris Clark joining you from Underdog Sports Marketing. Special guest today. Really excited about this conversation. Chris Aumueller from FanWord. Chris, appreciate you taking time to join me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris.
You're one of my OG guys in the NIL space because I know we've chatted several times over the course of the years since NIL went live in 2021. You started FanWord, and so we got so much to jump into. Let's start right there. Before we get into your journey, tell everybody listening about FanWord. What is it? What is your mission with FanWord?
Yeah, happy to. I mean, in a nutshell, FanWord's a storytelling company. So we build products for athletic organizations to essentially help them tell more and better stories. So we build products around that and have two offerings essentially, one very service driven, one software driven. And yeah, primarily work with college athletic departments as well as high school athletics. We have some pro sports clients here and there, but college sports definitely our biggest footprint. Yeah.
Why did you decide to start FanWord? And we'll go back further in the journey, but when you decided, hey, I want to step in, I assume you saw some sort of gap, some sort of idea to fill a need, and especially in the college space with storytelling. What was that it? Just
Mhm.
seeing, hey, this is kind of a need and this is in my wheelhouse?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mix of frustrations and passion, I guess. The frustrations was I was a tennis player for the Huskers back in the day, and I had a lot of friends, not just at Nebraska, but throughout the country that I felt like were doing phenomenal things outside of athletics. And I felt like majority of platforms and people primarily cared about their numbers and stats, and it was kind of lacking that human element that I thought is so critical in sports and in athletics. So that was kind of the frustration, I guess, of like, hey, I want to kind of change that and highlight who these young men and women are, underneath the jersey too, and outside of athletics
Hmm.
too. And then the passion, I guess, was the Players Tribune that at the time was still pretty novel, and I was a massive fan of the platform, and they did something pretty unique at that time. Like they published a bunch of these long form human interest pieces, but they wrote them from a first person perspective. So you as a fan, you felt like Tom Brady or LeBron James, they were writing their own stories, even though you knew hey, they probably didn't. But I love that concept and that layer of authenticity, and I wanted to bring that to the collegiate space. And I felt like it was, a great solution for the problem that I was trying to fix. And that's essentially, I mean, we call that product today FanWord Stories. That is that service driven product. So we still do that to this day. But that's really yeah, how it all started back in the day.
So you mentioned you were a tennis player at Nebraska. When you went to school at Nebraska, what was your idea, your idea of what you would do? Did you always think, hey, I'd love to get into sports business. I would love to be an entrepreneur. Did you have any plans? How did those evolve?
Yeah, I think growing up, so I'm originally from Germany, always had a bit of an entrepreneurial plug. First memory I probably have as an, not sure if I should call myself an entrepreneur as a 10-year-old, but I was drawing pictures of soccer shoes and went door to door and tried to get parents to give me 5 Mark, Deutsche Mark back in the day, our currency. So everybody that paid probably just felt bad for me, but it was the first time, I guess, if we're talking about an entrepreneurial venture, or an entrepreneurial experience, I should say. That was probably the first one, at least that I can remember. And then I was really big into graphic design growing up and started a graphic design discussion board in Germany. And that was really the first venture where together with a team, we kind of grew something and built something. And we grew that platform to like the third largest community in Germany in graphic design. So we had over I don't remember, I think 13,000 or 15,000 members. And just building that, was incredibly, something I was incredibly passionate about. And I remember just always, when coming home from school, the first thing I did was checking out all the new posts and all the new members. And it just, something I was really, really excited about. So I definitely knew that entrepreneurship could definitely be a path I see myself taking, as I was in college and in school too. And then, obviously mixing that with the passion of sports and some of those personal experiences. Yeah, just one thing led to another. It was really in school, like in class, where I took an entrepreneurship class and was kind of asked to essentially come up with an idea that I really started to, think about doing something that was more than just, for class, I guess. And just, that's really how it started, I guess.
No, that's awesome. And by the way, I think 10-year-olds can definitely be entrepreneurs. I mean, you
Fair.
created something, you sold it, you're a business person. But yeah, I remember, I think to your point, Chris, there is, I think I've had jobs, right? My first actual job kind of on the books was when I was 14 years old working at a hot dog store in the
Yeah.
upstate of South Carolina. And I got my very small paycheck, but that was a great feeling, right? But when I got older and when I took on my first, I guess you could say like a side hustle, like a
Hmm.
side job, I don't know, man, that just kind of hits different because you're
Hmm.
like, I did this. And it's not like an ego thing, right? It's just like, this is something that I built on my own. And I think that kind of is brain breaking. Like it unlocks all these possibilities in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I know a lot of people that are entrepreneurs. Many of them say, well, I just don't want to work for anybody else and all that. I don't really have that per se. Like, I love working with people, but
Sure.
I just love the idea of building something yourself. And you could certainly be entrepreneurial in a corporate job. So I'm not saying, one excludes the other, but just that feeling of building something yourself and being responsible for all the good and all the bad. And I don't know, it's just incredibly fulfilling and rewarding, I think.
How long has FanWord been around? Has it been a company officially?
Yeah, I mean, I think the official start date that we often communicate is probably November 2018. It's when we launched our
Okay.
first partnership. So 6.5 years roughly. And again, it was that Players Tribune like storytelling service that at the time looked different than what it does today. As I said, we have two products today, but that is still a product and that has evolved quite a bit. But back then, yeah, our first partnership was with a local Division 3 school here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And then our second partnership with Alabama. So we kind of went from, very small to very big. And yeah, it just kind of made us feel like, okay, there's something there. And obviously, the usual roller coaster of an entrepreneurial journey kicked in the years to come, and you adjust a lot, you pivot a lot, you learn a lot, and I guess here we are. But yeah, November 2018 is probably the most accurate birth date of FanWord.
So I was going to ask you that next, and you just touched on it a little bit. How much you've learned, in over 6.5 years. Are there a few, top learnings that you could distill that kind of like a man, I wish I knew this 6.5 years ago, but also things that you would pass along to someone who, is you 6.5 years ago? Like,
Yeah.
what advice would you give?
I mean, we could probably do another 5 episodes on learning lesson on
Yeah,
learnings
absolutely.
throughout this journey. But I think one that I often come back to, like every entrepreneur, I guess, starts their venture due to various reasons. Not everything's born out of passion. Some see an opportunity. Some, are driven by other motives than, I am, for instance. But I, for instance, was a very passion driven entrepreneur and still am a very passion driven entrepreneur. And I had this idea set in my mind of wanting to do this and solving it this way. But I think one of the hardest things to do as an entrepreneur is being honest with yourself, especially if things that were like when things don't work out and don't pan out the way you want them to. There's only so much you can obviously anticipate and plan for. And being honest with yourself when things aren't what you wanted them to be or expected them to be, I think is an incredibly important lesson that I had to learn, certainly the hard way. I was kind of stubborn as like at first and no, this is how it's supposed to go and this is what I want to do. But if there's no market, if there's no business, you're not going to do anybody a favor. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs trying to hold on to their original idea for so long. I think there's a core mission that you're trying to accomplish, and you probably want to stick to. But there's a lot of different ways to accomplish that and solve for that. And I think again, that was one of my number one learning lessons over the years of accepting market needs and what the market's telling you, even though it may not perfectly align with what you wanted or what you kind of envisioned.
You have a lot going on and a lot to do running a business. And one thing for me, I know is that over the years, for me, I have to come up with systems and try to
Mm-hmm.
be efficient with all the different things that I have to do. How do you operate? Like, what's your typical day? Are you a very structured person? Are you a cold plunge? Are you a any
Yeah.
of those things?
Yeah, no, I mean, I find so much fulfillment in what we do. Like I work long days every day and I love it.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
I'm definitely in the weeds. I'm definitely, I try to lead the team also kind of by example, and I roll up my sleeves. I'm never like my CTO often, like when we interview for applicants, he uses this analogy, like if we were to have a physical office and the trash is full, would you take it out, or are you feeling like too good for jobs like this? I never do. Like it doesn't matter what the task is. If there's a need and I can help, I will always do that. So I love being, just working hard, but definitely working smart too. So you're talking about processes and figuring all that stuff out, which took years for me to get to a point where it is today. Because as a CEO, like, you shouldn't spend your time on certain things, right? You should do X, Y, and Z, and that's absolutely something I'm doing and prioritize. But I think that's probably the best way to put it. Prioritization is something I have to learn a lot, which I think I have, and seeing kind of the bigger picture and advancing the company, helping everybody on the team, getting their stuff done and getting their stuff done well, moving the company forward. And that obviously comes with establishing processes and systems so everybody's on the same page. And yeah, definitely was a learning curve, but I think we're doing a pretty good job now.
Chris, about halfway into your journey, so FanWord officially launching in 2018, about
Mm-hmm.
halfway through that, we were talking earlier about 2021, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the year, of course, that NIL, name, image, and likeness, became live, so to speak, became legal in college athletics. And I know, from talking to you back then and since then, that represented, I would say, an opportunity for your business to step in because
Mm-hmm.
storytelling became so important for athletes and for schools, for exposure. How did that change your business, and how were you poised at that time to step in and help fill that gap?
Yeah, you're 100% correct. We found out about a year before the laws went into effect that they were going to happen. And all we knew at the time is we got to be a part of this. And we wanted to stay true to our mission and who we are. And we did not want to be involved in, like on the transactional side of NIL, which I guess, by nature, that's what NIL is. But we didn't want to be a part of that because we knew of the biggest players in the space were going after that. We knew we were bootstrapped at the time pretty much, so there was no way for us to compete on that front. And we also felt like it wasn't necessarily aligning with our strength and our passion and our mission, right? So what we were doing instead was we a kind of positioned our storytelling product as an NIL product in terms of, you alluded to it, like, we help athletes tell their stories. We help them build their brands, which in turn obviously helps them with NIL. And we, I think, did a pretty good job of establishing ourselves as a bit of a thought leader, I guess, from that angle. And then we also built products around that we thought were relevant in the NIL space. So we had an educational product that was really heavily focused on storytelling and brand building, like teaching athletes, I guess, how to do that. But we tried to stay true to ourselves. And again, we were never per se actively involved on the transactional side, but we felt like in order to help athletes get to that point, one of the best things they can do is tell their stories and build their brands. And that's kind of where we saw our fit. And yeah, a lot of schools believed in us, and a lot of schools kind of collaborated with us on building that out. And it was, yeah,
Yeah,
really exciting. Yeah.
I think that's really cool that, collaborating to build out, right? Because you made a great point earlier I want to touch on again, and that a lot of people are unwilling to pivot, right? A lot of people think of it, what's the best business idea? When
Mm-hmm.
the question that they should be answering is the one that you answered, which was, here's something I'm passionate about, and it would fill a need, fill a gap, and then be able to pivot to what's needed. So you kind of, in talking with these different parties like schools, like colleges,
Mm-hmm.
what are the issues? It's A. Okay, well, let's build A.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah.
I'll build you B and I'll build myself B and present it to you. Like,
Yeah.
what can you solve for these people?
Yeah, yeah, and again, like, I know entrepreneurs that are very passionate, not necessarily about the industry or the product that they're building, but they're very passionate about solving a problem, or they're very
Yeah,
passionate, they're very money driven, right? So for them, it's maybe literally, hey, here's an opportunity, I'm gonna go all in on that, and that's totally fair. It's
right.
just not, I guess, who I am as an individual, because I know going through this journey right now, and it doesn't mean I'm not driven by maximizing revenue and all that stuff, but I know what I do every single day and every single week. And if there's not a bigger motive and a bigger passion for me, I'm not sure I could do that. So for me, I love the idea of doing something that also fulfills me.
That's awesome. I mean, that's the dream, right? Do something that
Yeah,
can fulfill you. So really cool. You get to do that every day. I got a few more for you.
of
So
course.
you serve, schools, you can serve NIL collectives, brands, agencies, marketplace. And I think if I had to boil it down, and really I'm boiling it down with the help of your great website, which is fanword.com, you've got three, I think you could say like flagship like products, right? You got FanWord Stories, FanWord Assist, FanWord Directory. Can you give us, a quick rundown of just what each one of those does and how they could help?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So FanWord Stories is essentially what we talked about most so far, which is the Players Tribune like storytelling site and service for, let's say, schools and conferences, where we partner with them and essentially create these unique first person narrative feature stories about their athletes, their coaches, their alum, et cetera, and manage everything from start to finish. So we interview, we write, we review, we edit and revise, we publish, we create social graphics to promote it. So schools interested in giving their athletes a voice and creating more of this unique content, that's essentially FanWord Stories. FanWord Assist is a software product. We essentially built that about a year ago and launched it, and traction for that product has been phenomenal. So it uses AI and a lot of other technologies, heavily customized. So it's not like ChatGPT in a different outfit, right? And
Right.
we essentially, that's a tool that we give to SIDs and communication teams, having worked with them for 6+ years. Like we really learned what a lot of their tasks and their processes look like, and we try to break down these processes and these tasks and try to provide solutions that help them streamline that, whether it's streamlining an interview, as weird as it sounds, whether it's streamlining the creation of a feature story or of a game recap. But again, it's so heavily customized and trained that you wouldn't be able to see or feel like this is AI, I guess. And it uses other technologies too, which is really big for us and something we're really big on. So that tool has gained a lot of traction and is very well received. And then FanWord Directory was kind of our solution to what most people probably would call a marketplace. Instead of again being transactional and bringing brands and athletes or so together for a deal of some sort, it was kind of like building mini websites for athletes where they could have their own little like hub, kind of like a link tree almost, where they could link to their social channels, to their marketplace profiles, to their merch, to content about them, to X, Y, and Z. So just think of something you put in your Instagram bio or so. And we love that product. We still obviously support that product. We certainly, in full transparency, the biggest challenge there was that Open Doors and Teamwork slash Influencer just, they had such a great product on the marketplace front that it was difficult for us to educate schools why they also need ours, if that makes sense. So we still have that product. We still support it. We still have a bunch of amazing clients there. And we continue to explore ways for that product. But our biggest focus right now is definitely FanWord Assist, the software, and FanWord Stories. So,
Awesome stuff. So, you've mentioned several times your talks with schools, and the thing that I love about how the posture you're taking those is it seems very collaborative, right?
mhm,
Like you built out a product, and I know a lot of SIDs, sports information directors at different colleges, and there's varying, as you know, Chris, sizes of those teams,
totally.
budgets. But what I do know is whether it's a Power Four school or you're just telling me about a small school that you just
Mhm,
spoke
mhm,
with, they're all, I think, in a lot of cases, over leveraged, right?
yeah,
So you found out their pain points and built something in FanWord Assist
mhm,
that can help them. So I love that. But my question off of that is, how do you market your products? Like, because I like to talk about marketing and Underdog Sports marketing. What's your approach to marketing, and what are some maybe marketing challenges that
mhm.
you're trying to solve in the next year or two?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I'm a big fan of authentic and human-led kind of marketing. Like I want them to
Yeah.
know that when they get an email from us, it's us writing an email. If we send somebody a message, it's us sending a message. We don't work with lead generation companies or whatever else. And I want them to understand that we aren't just trying to sell them a tool, but that we try to work with them to help them. It sounds a little cheesy, but we're not just, hey, here's a tool you need, go for it, but rather, hey, we understand what you're going through. You're overworked, long hours. All we're trying to do here is get you 90% there in 10% of the time. Whether it's you have so many things that you need to do, and we just want to give you some of those hours back. And again, with our assist in particular, they can create recaps, feature stories, update their roster pages, and some other SID tasks, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
that are just time consuming. And our technology is not empowering them in a lot, and we want people to understand that. As far as like challenges, Chris, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. It's always you have some very innovative and forward-thinking schools that understand, hey, AI is here to help us. It's here to empower us. And even though AI is just a part of our tool, like there are a lot of other technologies that help streamline various tasks and processes, but AI is a part of that. So once we get a chance to chat with them, I think they completely understand. But you certainly have people that you don't want to be kind of lumped into the same category as hey, this is just chat, shouldn't down talk chat GPT, but this is just chat GPT, or this is any of the scary AI stuff, right? Like
Right.
nothing is ever published, nothing is ever on our tool, like you can't directly publish to their website with the click of a button or so it's always human driven, human led stuff. And continuing to communicate that and getting that across is again, I'm calling it a challenge, I guess, but it only because you asked what's a challenge. So I guess,
Yeah.
but
No, I mean
um,
that's great. I love it because there are like one of our clients at Underdog Sports Marketing is a digital ticketing company
mhm.
that works with high schools, right? And so one of their challenges is some like small rural high schools still use cash, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's not a good system,
yeah,
right? But that's what
yeah,
they do, you know? And
totally.
so you can think of it like for writing and publishing content, like AI
Mhm.
can be a scary thing. We don't want to do
Yep,
AI, you know,
yep,
for a variety of reasons. But
totally.
I love what Nicholas Cole and Dickie Bush, a couple guys that are copywriters that I follow. One of them says, I think Nick's the one that says it. Like AI is not going to replace you, but someone who uses AI will replace you. You know?
It is the funniest thing that you're saying this because I literally use that all the time and I have no idea where it originated from. I always tell people that because literally an AD told me this by now probably a year and a half ago, and I use it in every conversation. And now that you're bringing up this exact same quote, I know where it's coming from. I'm such a big advocate for that because it's so accurate, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just need to embrace it, in my opinion. And again, like when we have these conversations, we're not trying to make anybody feel like, oh, come on, like you should believe in AI and you should give this a shot. Like we want them to we want to at least challenge their thinking, I guess, but not with like at all force. Like if that's what they believe in, if that's what they want, like there's only so much pushing we're doing. But I absolutely think that technology in general and AI is certainly a part of that. All of it comes with, some downsides and disadvantages, I guess, but you gotta embrace it. You're not gonna if you resist it. It reminds me so much of NIL back in 2021 when
Mm.
NIL launched and you had a lot of ADs being very hesitant for not saying wrong or right reasons, but back then like very hesitant to embrace it. And I felt like the schools that were embracing it got a head start. And I feel like it's somewhat similar to what we're experiencing right now, but to each their own.
Yeah, yeah. Use it to your advantage. It's here,
Yep.
right? So, totally agree with you. All right, Chris. Well, hey, I've kept you long enough. Thank you so much for taking the time to tell me about your journey, about FanWord. Know everybody will enjoy hearing your insights and your learnings, and wishing you nothing but the best of luck with FanWord. I know we'll be in touch. Stay in touch as well. So, thanks for your time.
Yeah, for sure, Chris. Thanks a lot for having me. Really had a good time. And yeah, once again, thank you, man.